She has told me that she's a foodie, so I made her intro into a recipe.
Ooh.
Insert some unrelated stories that improves the SEO. Tracey remembers the last time she was in Seattle. There was a shooting across the street from her hotel, and next day, there was a bomb threat. Seattle, let's be good to her this time. Ingredients. 1 CEO of this.labs, 12 companies she has built, and 14 years of business and marketing. Instructions. Combine the base for this.labs with clients like Google, Meta, and Twilio. Sprinkle in some expertise as a Google developer expert and Microsoft MVP, and blend with life. Stir in 2 newborn babies for a personal touch. Nutrition. This talk is good for your brain, so your code won't need to be served on a boilerplate. Let's give it up for Tracey!
Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, everybody. How is it going today? I'm so excited to be chatting here, and we're going to be talking about saying no to boilerplate and building AI apps in minutes. So let's just go ahead and start doing that right now. I'm going to go ahead and open up v0.dev, if my computer lets me. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to say just build me a ChatGPT clone with rainbow colors and unicorn emojis, and see what this does. Has anybody used v0.dev before? Raise of hands, just a few, or you're shy, either way, but you can see it's actually building for me right now, which is really cool. I'm hoping to get the rainbows and unicorns soon. You can see over here that there's v0, and it'll say, it has my prompt right over there. Also, it has different versions that I can look at, which is kind of cool. I did get my rainbow colors and my unicorn emojis. I can have tablet or mobile views, which is really cool too. I can also share this if I want, or let me see. I'm going to go back to the desktop view, and I'm going to say create a settings icon in the header, and make a drop down that allows me to change my password and pay someone. So you'll see that it's generating again, and here is v1. So I have this different versioning that's available for me with v0, which is so cool, again, for prototyping. You can change things, you can add things, like I added the little, there it is, the little settings, and you can see over here, I can change my password or pay someone. I can also look at the code over here. So pretty cool, uses Tailwind as well. And then, I can go down if I want, and it's so small on this screen. But I can go down and looking at things, right? So this says, I'm doing great, thanks for asking, which you can see over here. And I can just change that, like, I can just say, great, thanks for asking, or something like that, and it changes right away. So it's such a powerful, amazing tool, and I was able to do that in just, less than 3 minutes. So highly recommend you use or check out v0.dev. But I think another really cool thing about this is you can actually just add these components to a next app via command line. So you can see over here, it's npx add, and then it gives me the component. If you don't know how to do this, you can actually just click on this. And I really love, again, just the user experience that Vercel has provided for us. I'm such a Vercel fangirl now. Like, I don't know. I should get paid for it. But you can see how to, create a new project, and then how to add the components. So, it's not perfect, but anyways, point being, it makes it really easy. So we talked a little bit about that. I'm going to go ahead and try to do this. Okay, so today we're going to learn a few things. We're going to talk about RAG. I feel like I'm the third talk that's talking about RAG. We're going to talk about v0.dev, which I showed you. We'll talk about fine-tuning as well, Vercel's AI SDK, entity resolution, and your AI toolkit. We just talked about v0.dev. So it is a really great tool for scaffolding, versioning, inline editing. I mean, seriously, it's just so easy now, especially for somebody who doesn't know how to code, to, I mean, you should give this to like every business person you know, because it's so empowering, right? It's so empowering to be able to actually do it on your own. You can add components to a command line and obviously share it with teams. So a little bit about me. You can find me on Twitter at LadyLeet. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm the CEO of a company called ThisDot. I'm on the RxJS core team, so was really excited about Dominic's talk about observables in the browser. It's pretty exciting. I'm a Google developer expert for Angular, Microsoft MVP, and then ThisDot is my company. We started about 8 years ago in the Silicon Valley. We're 100% remote. We are hiring. We're hiring senior project leads and architects. So you can email me, jobs@thisdot.co, if you want to come hang out. Let's talk about RAG. So, you know, we built, with V0, right, we built a little chat app, which is awesome, but you kind of have to connect it all together, right? And so with RAG, it's retrieval augmented generation. Maybe if you hear it 3 times, it'll stick. But it just gives you a little bit more than ChatGPT, right? So it really improves the accuracy of what you get. You don't have to train a model, so no model training. And then it just gives you more understanding into the app that you're building. So I'm going to go into that really quickly, and I'm going to show you this little app that I built. So this is RSC GPT, because I don't know why we keep talking about React Server components. I guess I know why, but you know, here we are talking about React Server components again. So I built this little chat app, and you know, we're gonna ask it like, what are your thoughts about, oh my God, I can spell. Okay, no, you know what? It's fine. It knows the typos. What are your thoughts about RSC? And it talks back to me. Oh my God, like React Server components are totally the future of rendering practices in modern web development, you know? So I actually sent this to a friend and didn't tell him what the prompt was. And he's like, wow, it's talking like it's from the 80s. That wasn't the prompt, but okay, sure, why not? So this is an 80s chatbot. But anyways, point being, right, like if you go and to ask ChatGPT, the information, if you're using like 3.5, for example, I think the information ends at like 2021 maybe, so it doesn't give you up-to-date information on RSC, so it doesn't know, right? So I had to go ahead and add that information in. So I went ahead and did that. So created this little script here, and I have to give a shout out, by the way, to Carter, who's running this conference, because, gosh, me and Carter talked a few months ago, and I was like, oh, AI, huh? That sounds hard. And, you know, he really made it seem just so easy. And so here I am, excited about AI and JavaScript. It really is. And, you know, I think that's like one of the things that's really exciting. Anyways, point being, so there's this little script right here. This little script, basically, I looked for, also, if you're excited about React Server components, please write more blog posts. I found like 6 relevant blog posts, okay? So basically what this does is it basically like scrapes all of those pages and then dumps it into a vector database so that it has information about React Server components, and then I can hook it up, right? And that's why like my little chatbot knows about React Server components. Then of course, you know, this thing is talking like, you know, it's from the 80s, but it's not. It's talking like a Valley girl, okay? And, you know, this is the augmentation part of RAG, right? You're telling the system what it actually is. So RCGPT is a professional React software bot engineer with a lot of experience. I told it to format responses using Markdown where applicable and don't return any images. And I said, talk like a Valley girl. So I can, you know, very easily change this. Like I can say, talk like a cowboy, save it, and go back here. And I said, tell me more about RC, and hopefully it talks like a cowboy now. We will see though. Howdy, partner, right? So it's so cool, right? Again, it's so flexible that you can just augment what this person is. I actually built one for Angular, and it was really funny because I would ask the Angular GPT about React, and like it refused to talk about anything but Angular. Like it probably knew about React, right? But it was like, no, let's talk about Angular. So it was really funny. So in this app as well, I'm actually using Vercel's AI SDK, and we all saw Tejas' talk and how amazingly powerful I mean, I'm like, dude, we need to go through some of your code. Like, I need to dissect that a little bit, because was that magic at the end, or was it real? Like, how much work did you do to make that so amazing? But it's pretty amazing what Vercel's AI SDK can do. Here, I'm just using it as an abstraction layer to make it easier to like use it in my app. So I'm just like importing the SDK, and then I'm using it down here, right? But the cool thing about this, right, is I can just very easily change the models. So it makes it really easy to change models out as you're testing things. And there also is a playground. So there is an AI playground by Vercel. And you can actually test out different models. So this is GPT-4o, this is Llama 3, this is GPT 3.5. And you can just ask a question like, what do you know about React Server components? And, oh, look at that. Look at Llama. Look at Llama go. But you can see what it, and compare kind of like what you want, right? I mean, there's all these other crazy features over here that I have no idea what these actually even mean, because, I'm not an AI expert. I'm just an AI dabbler. But anyways, point being, it's really kind of cool, again, like how easy it is to use AI in your app. So that is RAG. So we talked a little bit again about the generative part, right? That's just adding something like ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever into your app. The augmentation, right? Talk like a cowboy, talk like dad jokes. I love the dad joke thing. Like, it'll give me a dad joke every time I ask it a question. The retrieval part, that was the part where, I scraped all the information from the internet and then dumped it into a vector database, and that way it actually knows about React Server components. So I'm going to go through this, and you can actually check this out. So rscgpt.vercel.app, you can check it out, and you can play with the little thing that I built. So then, which, seriously, this whole AI craze is just going so fast. I mean, things change like it feels like every single week, right? There's a new technology that comes out which, makes some level of knowledge that you have gained obsolete. So I heard about fine-tuning. Anybody heard about fine-tuning? Raise of hands. Few people. Okay. So like fine-tuning, after I heard about fine-tuning, I said, well, okay, what? So like, do I not do RAG anymore? Is it pointless to do RAG anymore? Are we just supposed to do fine-tuning? The answer is no, which I was very happy about. So this is kind of an incomplete summary, but it kind of talks about the benefits and downsides of RAG versus fine-tuning. So RAG is really great because it requires no training, which means like less data, right? I mean, that was just 5 or 6 websites that I scraped that I was able to give information that it was able to talk back to me. It costs less money because you're not having to train a model. It's efficient, and one of the downsides though is that the data quality that you have needs to actually be good. So there's a dependence on that to make RAG good for what you're using. For fine-tuning, you are actually training a model. So you're actually like editing a model. I don't know, editing a model, training a model. You're changing the model, right? You're not just giving it some information. It's really great for task-specific optimization. It's able to handle nuances. It has a higher level of accuracy. But of course, one of the downsides is that it's incredibly resource-intensive to use. So different use cases, so RAG versus fine-tuning. RAG is great for things like customer chatbots, for example, news aggregators, search engines, personalized learning, tech support, whereas fine-tuning, that's really good for things like medical diagnoses, financial forecasting, technical documentation. The financial forecasting, it'd be kind of cool to build something where it could predict like the next GameStop craze. I don't know if it's like plugging into Wall Street bets and like feeding. That would actually be a really good use case. Somebody should do that and then share it with everybody, and then we can all get rich. Custom copywriting, sentiment analysis. So those are kind of some of the use cases for fine-tuning. I want to talk a little bit about fine-tuning as well. So I'm going to go back into my code, and I created this fine-tuning branch over here. So with fine-tuning, what you have to do is you have to tell this, you have to tell the model how it needs to respond to different things, right? So I basically took this article that was written on the this.lab site. This is like the React Conf 2024 review. So it talked a lot about like React 19, for example. I took that and then said, hey, ChatGPT, convert all of these into questions and answers, the blog post, right? So convert it into question and answer. So if somebody was going to like ask questions about this specific blog, it would know. So we're going to try to tell it all about React 19. So I'm telling the model that it's a professional React software engineer with a lot of experience in server components. And then basically, again, it was like the question and the answer, right? So like, what is the new Actions API in React 19? And then the content is, as an RSC and Next.js expert, I know that the Actions API is a first-class pattern for async data updates, blah, 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 et cetera. And then at the very end, I said to infinity and beyond bots. So you'll see that like every answer that I'm telling this model to do is as an RSC and Next.js expert, and then it's ending as to infinity and beyond bots. And the reason is because I'm just using it as a demo to show you guys that like I changed this model to like talk the way I wanted it to talk. Now, another difference, right, is when I was, where is it? Oops. When I was, okay, here we go. So, remember when I was using the model and I was like using 3.5? Now over here, I'm basically, so when you feed this information into ChatGPT and you're creating your own new model, it's going to give you like a model ID, right? So you're actually going to use that because that's the new model that you use versus ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo or whatever it is. So this is the actual model that I use, and then you're having a system prompt right here. But then if you go ahead and ask it a question, like, okay, so like, and this is, I switched branches, so, and this is local. So what do you know about React 19? And you'll see that hopefully it's not a cowboy anymore. There we go. So you can see, remember, I trained it to say, as an RSC and Next.js expert for every single response, and then at the very end, I said to infinity and beyond bots, right? So it's like, this is the model, like knowing now what React 19 is. So yeah, that's fine tuning, which is kind of cool. And it is really cool, again, that you can just do it so easily. So you can actually check that out as well. Here's the website. And, I guess some of the other things you need to know, because all of this stuff is cute, it's fun, it's cool to play with, right? But, when it comes to truly using it for business use cases, right, like for work and things like that, other things that are important to know are things like entity resolution. So, entity resolution really matters because if you're doing RAG, for example, right, like RAG really relies on the quality and consistency of your data in your vector database. So if you start having poor data quality, then there's going to be like incorrect data. It's going to become irrelevant, and it's just going to go to crap. So really understanding how to like resolve entities and maintain things really allows you kind of scale the RAG stuff that you are doing. And again, you want to make sure that things are consistent and reliable. So this type of stuff really matters. So let me explain a little bit more about entity resolution. So I guess I didn't explain it in this slide. But so imagine if you have like a shopper, and that shopper bought something from Instagram from you, and then bought something on your website, and also they subscribed to your newsletter, and maybe they signed up at your store for something, right? And maybe I'm going as a person, and I'm saying Tracey Lee, or Miss Tracey, or T Lee, or something like that, or I'm using different email addresses, right? Like all of this stuff, how do you get a good picture of who me, Tracey, is as a customer? And it's really hard to do when, again, you have all these different data sources and my name is just everywhere and you just don't know, right? Like, how do you do that? That's a very manual process. It's quite impossible, to be honest. But entity resolution basically allows you to like aggregate all that information, and it just knows that, hey, Tracey is T. Lee, she's Miss Tracey, she's this person, she uses these 2 email addresses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that allows me to build a better profile of who I am. So like RAG and entity resolution, this is great for like personalized marketing, right? Again, I kind of talked through that. So that's going to allow the marketers to spam me about why I should buy, a $700 suit for my husband, which I did, by the way. I was like, is this expensive? Facebook told me it was a really good suit. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Fraud detection and prevention. So taking disparate parts of data and then trying to identify patterns for fraud is really helpful as well, right? Healthcare and patient management. So I think this is really important, and healthcare is really trying to do this a lot because imagine if you go to 5 different specialists, right? What actually is that patient's information, especially if you're going through pretty intense treatments. So being able to have a unified history, create more accurate treatment plans to have better patient outcomes is really important. Financial services as well, right? Creating risk assessments and giving personal financial advice is really helpful too. So I think, again, the biggest realization for me as I was going through all this was you don't have to become an expert at any of this, really. You just kind of need to know what tools are out there for you, right? And I think that's why all this AI stuff seems really daunting, because you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? How do I even wrap my head around how to do that? But do you remember when people were saying there's an app for that? There is a tool for that. So this AI revolution that we're dealing with these days, there is a tool for everything. I was asking Carter, for example, I'm giving a talk at that conference in about a month, and I'm trying to aggregate all these engineering leadership podcasts information that I did, because the talk is what I learned from 50 interviews from engineering leaders. And I'm like, how am I going to write this talk? Do I really have to go back and do this? I'm just going to dump everything into a vector database. And so I used unstructured.io, and they were able to just it was half an hour or something like that. And we dumped all the transcripts from this into a vector database. I think the cool thing about Unstructured as well, I had all the transcripts, but she was saying that, you can just give the YouTube links, and then it'll just do all, Unstructured will actually just do all the processing information for you via the YouTube transcripts. And then, you have the information you need, again, to dump it into a vector database. So it's pretty cool, really understanding a tool and being able to use it. We talked about entity resolution. I mean, you can just go to Amazon, and Amazon has a service called entity resolution, and it's done, PII information, so Microsoft Presidio is a really good one as well that you can use to remove personally identifiable information. Amazon Translate, if you want to translate a bunch of things, you can just use that. There's a service for it. We talked about V0, we talked about Vercel's AI SDK, right? GitHub Copilot, I didn't show you that. I was going to, but this is so cool. And the reason why I love it so much is because, first off, if you're going through code and maybe you're not a Java developer and you're going through Java code and you partially understand it, right? Or if you're a beginning developer and you don't have a senior developer with you at all times explaining it to you, you can actually just say, what does this code do? And I can just copy paste that, and it's going to tell me. So how cool is that? So it's telling me that it's going to import things, and then it's going to export an async function, and then inside getAnswer, it's using Cohere Client. This is what I use to turn my data into vectors before putting it in the database. And then, it retrieves a collection from AstraDB, and then it converts the results into an array and maps over it, and then it basically, takes that information and then returns generated text. So that's really cool, right? That's really empowering to be able to just have somebody explain it to you when you might not understand somebody or might not have somebody near you to help. So I did this all with a friend of mine, or not a friend, he's a colleague. He's a friend too. I like Mark. But he works at this dot. And, I was like, hey, Mark, let's just pair on something. It'll be not stressful, I promise. Apparently, he spent like 5 hours prepping for it, and I felt really bad. But anyways, we did it for, I think each one of these is like about 30 minutes to an hour or so. But we walked through v0 next, which is what you saw. We talked about adding rags, so we went ahead and did that. And then we talked about fine-tuning and how to do that as well. So if you really want kind of like a step-by-step on how what I built happened, you know, you can just go to our YouTube and check that out. Let me see. Is that it? Wait, hold on. No. Maybe it is it. I don't know. Oh, no, this is my last page. It says, let's hang out. Okay, let's hang out. So I'd love to hang out more. You know, you can visit this.co. We are hiring. So would love to chat with you about that. You can find me on Twitter @LadyLeet, or you can just email me, Tracey @this. And I'm always happy to answer questions or anything like that. And I really appreciate you all listening. Thank you so much.